Hello everyone, welcome into GoBotch Plays. Today we are talking about Hunt Showdown and giving you 10 tips and tricks in a beginner's survival guide here in 2022 for Hunt Showdown, which is an intense, high stakes, high reward action first person shooter, which is PvPvE. It's an extraction shooter with the likes of Vigor and Escape from Tarkov. Hunt Showdown has its own spin with its own lore that I think is worth exploring, and today I'm going to talk about some quick tips and tricks to help you become the best hunters you can be, whether you're new or veteran. This video will have something hopefully that will help aid you in your survival. So without further ado, let's get into point number one. Now let's talk about understanding the various game modes within Hunt Showdown. First and foremost, you have your training mode. This is a great way to get yourself familiarized with the various elements of the game and obviously controls in the game. And if you complete all three of the training scenarios, you'll earn yourself the premium currency, which are blood bonds, which are able to, of course, help you be able to get various different things throughout the game, whether it be legendary hunters and whatnot. And you also have a mode that is really good at being able to fine-tune your skills, and that is trials mode. Trials mode is a great way to unlock some premium various trials specific items that you can get through the mode. And also these are time trials. These will be trials with trying to eliminate a certain amount of enemies in a certain amount of time, navigating throughout different areas in the map, kind of like an obstacle course in a way. So trials is a way to fine-tune your skills and your abilities in Hunt Showdown, and also a great way to learn kind of how to take down different enemies and also how to navigate within certain areas. If you want to try your hand at quick play is a mode which is solo only, and it's kind of a last man standing mode where you come in, you can choose to have your hunter have a melee weapon, shotgun, or a pistol. You start with just that item, a knife of some sort, and a med kit. That's all 12 hunters start with, and the goal of the game is to become the wellspring by being the first to get to 4 clues and close the 4 clues, and then you're trying to be the last man standing or make the wellspring timer run out. Once that happens, the last man standing as the lone survivor. You can then take that hunter that survived with all the gear that you've grown to have in that playthrough, and you can use that lone survivor as a hunter in the bounty hunt mode, the primary mode in Hunt Showdown. So bounty hunt mode basically is solo, duo, or trio, but never is this a solos only mode. If you decide to play bounty hunt solo, be aware most of the time you're going to be playing against duo teams, and if you tab on the trio option, you may even be going up against some trio teams. So be aware there is no solo mode only for bounty hunt mode. In this mode though, each hunter, when the map spawns in, you'll be either trying to take down 1 or 2 targets, which are bosses that have bounties on their heads. You're going to go around the various compounds gathering clues. Once you've pinpointed and found the location in the compound where the bounty is, where the boss is, your job is to take down the boss. You want to banish the boss, gather the bounty, and then extract the map, all the while taking down as many hunters and AI as you can to get the most amount of experience without dying. Extract and then rinse, repeat. All the gear you had, you keep. All the experience you got goes to your player level to be able to get better traits and various things to fill out your character, more money to get better different equipment. But if you die, you lose everything, and your hunter is gone forever, along with everything your hunter had on them. So it's high stakes, high reward, but it makes this game's loop and playthrough loop one of the best and most rewarding I've seen yet in the genre. Now, number 2, we're going to talk about quick play in more detail and how you should use this mode to gain the most advantage. I always recommend when you boot up Hunt Showdown, use quick play as a means of practice to get your PvP tuned and dialed in, mainly because it's low risk for you. You're not taking a hunter that you've purchased with your items and your gear. You're not taking that hunter in. You're going with a hunter that's completely free, starting with nothing, and you can gain everything, because everything you get in that mode, if you extract and you survive as the lone survivor, you get to keep everything with you. So it's really only for your gain and your reward, and also tuning in your PvP combat. I'll always recommend warming up with this for a few matches before getting into bounty hunt. And then a second thing, here's how I use quick play to get free gear and potentially free hunters. Every time you go through a quick play, when you get done with that match, you can go into the recruitment tab and you'll see that you can roll to get your free hunter, the free tier hunter. You can click that hunter, and if you want to use them, great, use that hunter. But if you don't want to use that hunter, but you want the gear that's on that hunter, all you got to do is click dismiss, and you'll lose that hunter, but you'll keep in the inventory all of the items that hunter had on them. Then simply just go back into quick play, rinse, repeat, exit quick play when you're done with the match, go back to recruitment, re-roll, get your free hunter, dismiss, get rid of the hunter, keep all the gear, and you can get so much gear from doing this. Yes, I know it's not high tier gear, but still, it's free gear nonetheless. You can use that to save up as much money as you possibly can while not having to spend any money at all on a few bounty matches as they go through. So that's the way I use quick play for quick PvP and also getting free gear out of it. Let's move on now. Point number 3, map navigation. I'm gonna keep it real simple here, y'all. Always stay on the move and never go out into the open. If you can avoid it, stay to cover as much as you can. Keep moving and be aware of audio traps. We'll talk more about that in detail. And if you do happen to find yourself in a PvP gunfight, make sure never peek twice and always stay on the move and rotate, and just keep the player you're playing on their heels. The reason I say that is don't peek twice. Well, if you peek once, take a shot, and you peek back, that may be the end of your run, because all it takes sometimes is one shot and you're done. And peeking twice is never something that I would recommend. So peek, move, rotate, find a better advantage point, and just try to keep as aggressive as you can, or if you know you're outnumbered, sometimes it's best to run away. So always stay on the move, be aware of your surroundings, and never peek twice. And then one of the biggest things also, when you spawn into a map, know that there's 12 people on the map with you, and sometimes you got to be aware of the player spawns. In your first spawn, when you get into the map, be aware there may be another team coming to that first compound with you. So always be aware of spawn points and be aware at first compound. Listen out, keep your eyes and ears out, open and available, because there may be a group coming to you really quickly, even sometimes at your first compound. Which brings me to point 4, and that is the bread and butter of this game, in my opinion, is the sound design and audio clues. Sound in Hunt Showdown is your best friend, also your worst enemy. You have to be aware. Point A is you got to be aware of audio traps. Crows, horses, ducks, broken glass, dogs, chickens, and twigs all can alert the nearby PvP players around you, other hunters around you, to your location, and they can pinpoint you just like that, and that could be the end of your run. So always be aware of audio traps for your own self. Don't trigger them if you can help it, but also be aware if you hear these triggers. If you hear crows squawk and fly, if you hear horses squealing, if you hear ducks flying away as well, if you hear broken glass, dogs barking, the chicken coop going crazy, twigs being broken, there very well may be hunters nearby in your vicinity. So use them to your advantage, but also be aware so you do not trigger these audio traps as well. Moving into the second part of audio, we're going to talk about player cues, and that is specifically talking about gunshots, footsteps, and grunt noises you'll hear, especially if you're in a close vicinity with other hunters. So first and foremost, of course, gunshots. You'll hear gunshots all around the map. You'll hear them in distance. You'll hear them sometimes really up close. So always be aware, listening to the distance of the shots, whether you're close to them or whether you're not. And if you hear a lot of quick fire or return fire, you may be able to third party a group and get some easy kills and take advantage of a situation. Second thing, we're going to talk about footsteps. Always be aware, again, everything in this game makes sound. So if you hear sprinting, you'll hear crouch walking, you'll hear just walking in general. Listen when you get to a compound. Sometimes it's best to get into your dark sight mode if you use dark sight. That will be able to, sometimes that can really hone in. You can listen to player actions in dark sight. So use that to your advantage as well to be able to pinpoint and help you find and pinpoint locations of other hunters. And then the last point for that, of course, is grunting. You'll hear sometimes when meleeing enemies, when, healing. I mean, everything, again, makes sound, whether you're healing, switching weapons, reloading weapons, meleeing enemies. Everything makes a sound. So make sure to just keep your ears open, listen, and you may be able to hear just a subtle audio cue that there's a hunter nearby in a compound with you. So always be listening to see what's going on around you. Moving on, point 5, we're going to talk about using clues to your advantage. So the clues, of course, are ways that you gain intel on the map to figure out where a boss is, where the bounty is. Okay, so if you come up to a clue, you see a clue on your map, Most of the time you're going to see a clue glowing blue. Blue means the area is safe. In the vicinity of that clue, there is no hunters. There's no other players nearby. But in the event you see that clue glowing red, orange, and humming with a kind of a growl, that is a telltale sign there is an enemy or enemies nearby in that compound, in that vicinity area with you. So if you see a clue glowing red and humming and growling, make sure, do not gather that clue. It is best to go take down the enemies, and then once you see that clue is no longer red and now is back to blue, it is safe. Gather the clue so you can use that kind of to your advantage to know whether or not the area is clear or whether or not that area is contested. Red versus blue, be aware of the clue colors. Moving on, point 6, we're going to talk quickly about environmental hazards and just being aware of barrels and lanterns around the compounds and how you can use them to your advantage. Obviously, you do not want to get yourself caught in a situation where I have a couple of times where you're taking refuge, but you're next to a lantern that's lit, or you're next to a red barrel or something of that nature, and if another hunter knows you're there, they'll just simply shoot that, light you ablaze, or blow you up, and there goes your run. But you can also use these barrels and these lanterns to your advantage, whether you're taking down some of the marked monsters around the map, or whether you're trying to take down the bosses in the various compounds. You can use lanterns to set the spider ablaze in a boss fight. You can use lanterns to sometimes choke enemies into certain locations you want them to go. You can use explosive barrels to blow up the meathead. You can use poison barrels to sometimes choke enemies to get out of certain areas. So always be aware of the environmental hazards, the barrels, the lanterns, all around compounds. Do not get caught by surprise and get killed by them, but you can use them to your advantage in gunfights and also in PvE fights against the marked monsters as well as the bosses within various compounds. Number 7, we're going to talk quickly about health. Each hunter on the map, you all have 150 health that is divvied up and split into various health bars. Now, so you should know, there are various ways you heal in Hunt Showdown, whether it be a med kit, vitality shot, regeneration shot, or med kits you can find from medic grunts on the map that they'll drop whenever you kill them, or just med kits that sometimes you'll find randomly stationed around the map itself. When you use these, you can heal yourself all the way back up to 150, as long as, if let's say you take damage from a fall or a gunshot, or you get hit a little bit by a couple enemies, if you see that your health bar is still black, that means you can still heal through that damage and get back all the way up to 150. But in the event, let's say you get downed and you get revived by a teammate, you may notice that your health bar is completely gone. It's grayed out. You cannot go back up anymore. Well, in that event, you're not allowed to get that health back unless, and we'll talk about this in a bit, you start a banishing process. The third health effect is fire, and you can have charred or burned out health chunks. So let's say you get in a fight with an immolator, or you get in a fight and a lantern burns on you. Okay, you may notice that you're gonna have this charred burning effect on your health bar, and when you see that burning effect, that means that health is now burned out and gone forever. No matter how much you heal, you cannot go beyond as far as that burned, charred effect is on the health bar. Now, when you see these various effects, whether it be the grayed out health bar you've lost forever, or a charred, burnt out health bar that is burned out forever, the only way you can get rid of these effects and get back to your 150 full health, just like you started the map, is by killing a boss on the map. Okay, that's again one of the bounties on the map. You kill one of them and begin the banishing process. If you begin the banishing process, all health effects, whether you're poisoned, burned, grayed out, whatever, will go away and you'll be restored completely new to your back base 150 health. So be aware of your health. Always heal back to full health as best you can. Do not try to brave it and just save heals. Heal whenever you can to try to keep it 150, because that extra health will make a difference, especially in a gunfight. Moving on to point 8, we're talking about using your equipment, knives, traps, and consumables. Use them. Do not hoard them, especially with your knives. Always bring a melee weapon into your hunts to use to clear grunts quietly, and also to save ammunition. Okay, when it's best to use melee over guns, just to stay as quiet as possible so you can move sneakily around the map without other hunters knowing you're in a certain location. So use your knives, your melee weapons to your advantage, stay stealthy, save ammo. And then your traps and consumables. These things are there for your advantage, especially in gunfights or in a situation where you're trying to hunker down in a compound while you are, waiting for the banishing process to complete on a bounty. Never just hoard these things. If you have a concertina bomb, use it. Throw it to a certain area, and you can have that area kind of cleared off, knowing that no enemy can go by there unless they destroy it. Also, if you know there's enemies, kind of pinpoint in a building, sniping or trying to, hone in on your position, use a frag bomb. Use use a Molotov cocktail, use anything, a hive bomb, whatever it may be, to throw and make those players rotate. You can use these different consumables to gain an advantage that maybe you didn't have prior by making enemies rotate and move, and now giving you the advantage of knowing where they're moving to and maybe getting a better vantage point. So use these items to your advantage and never hoard them. And moving on to point 9, next to last, is we're talking about making sure you loot dead hunters and then burn these hunters so there's no revive. So yes, after you've taken down enemies in the match, you may go up to them and hold E to loot their corpse. Okay, if you're playing on PC, you can loot their corpse if you hold E, and you can get any consumables that they have on them. Especially, you'll get also some health uses for your medkit back if you didn't have any prior. And then you can also get any of their guns. Maybe they have a gun you really like. You can pick up the guns off their body. Now you can use those and take them out if you extract successfully. But once you've taken down these enemies, don't just leave them laying, because that could be the death sentence for you down the road, because they are able to be revived by other teammates if their teammates are still alive. So the best thing to do is, if you have a Molotov cocktail, or if there's a lantern nearby, simply just throw it at them, set them ablaze, and their health bar while downed will slowly tick and burn away. And after their health bar is completely burned away, they are no longer alive to be revived, and they are done for the rest of the match. So loot the bodies on the ground, then burn them so they're not able to be revived and brought back into play. And moving on to our final tip, last but certainly not least, we're going to talk quickly, just really quickly, about how to defeat marked monsters around the map. Let's start with the armored and the concertina armored. They are best taken out whether it be by fire or taken out with melee weapons, especially knives or a charged melee attack. Simple, just get in there. A couple melee attacks will kill them. Or if it's a concertina armored, it's best to take a lantern or cocktail, a Molotov cocktail, throw it at them, set them ablaze, watch them fall. Down goes the armored. It's quick, simple, and easy. Moving on to the second, we have the hive. This, of course, is the lady, the bee lady, as I call her. You can take her out with a simple headshot. The head's to the left side of her body, on her shoulder, kind of. And you can also do a melee attack to the head. You may take a brief amount of poison damage from the bees, but she'll fall quickly. The bees will be gone, and you'll be better off without having to worry about the horde of bees chasing you around the compound. Moving on to letter C, we have the Immolator. The Immolator is an explosive enemy type that if you attack them with a gunshot or any sort of penetration, they will blow up and burn and kill you pretty dang quickly. So make sure for Immolators, kill them using blunt damage. Hit them with the butt of your gun, or if you have brass knuckles of something that's a blunt weapon that's melee, like a sledgehammer, you can take them out in a couple hits really quickly and get rid of them without any trouble, really. So Immolators, blunt damage, take them out really fast. Moving on to the Hellhounds. These enemies are easily taken out with headshots or knives or the charged attack, but the biggest thing for Hellhounds, y'all, is just listening. You can hear the audio cues of the howling and the growling of these vicious dogs. Just don't get swarmed by them. If you get swarmed by these enemies, it can be a very bad thing for you. You'll take bleeding damage and you can die really, really fast. So it's best to get the jump on them. Just a couple quick headshots or charged melee attacks will take them out. But be aware, if you are in a fight with them and you take bleeding damage, eliminate all of these Hellhounds before you attempt to heal, because they attack so fast and quickly that if you try to heal through before you take them all out, that will likely be the end of your run. So kill them first, then heal. Don't worry about trying to heal in mid-fight. And the last one we're going to talk about is the meatheads. These are kind of like the brute tanks that are blind in the match. I don't recommend fighting these outside of the first compound just because of the amount of noise it will take to take these guys down. But the quickest way I've found to take down the meatheads is just by using a dynamite stick. Throw a dynamite stick at their feet, watch them explode. Quickest way to take them out. You can also use penny shot ammo out of shotguns to take them out pretty quickly, as well as crossbows. But the best way I found is just, it's going to make noise, but throw one dynamite stick at their feet, watch them fall. Most of the time when you kill a meathead, you'll see they'll drop a trait as well, which you can pick up to use as another trait or perk for your hunter. So sometimes it is in your benefit to kill these meatheads, but if you're in your second, third, fourth compounds and you see them, it's best to avoid them. If you're early on just spawning, sometimes it's best to take them down just to get the XP and the trait. But yeah, that's just a quick way to take out some of the best, some of the marked monsters, the named monsters you'll see around the map. And that's 10 tips and tricks, y'all, for Hunt Showdown, and hopefully help you and aid you in your survival here in 2022. Y'all, let me know what you think. Let me know if there's any tips and tricks that you use that help aid you in your survival and help you become a better hunter in this game. But y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a thumbs up and keep it tuned here for more Hunt Showdown news, tips, tricks, and videos as well. But stay safe and well, and God bless, and we'll see y'all back here in the next one. Y'all take it easy.